Best of R / Tales from Retail episode 83. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. This is a story witnessing my aunt treat the lone worker of a dollar retail store horribly. I'll call the aunt Skark, she king of Karens. For this story, I had traveled to another state to visit family and to have what I thought would be a good time. Skark wanted to go shopping for balloons and party supplies for a party that she would be hosting in a couple of days. It was early morning and we stopped in the store where there was only one employee working with two customers in line behind us. The checkout was along the front of the store and the balloon station was set up along the left wall of the store. So, it was set up where you pay for your balloons and then they will fill them over at the balloon station. The cashier rang her up, gave her the empty balloons, and then asked if it was okay if he could check out the last two customers before inflating them. They only had a few items so it would have taken maybe 2 minutes. I witnessed her agree to this, then she proceeded over to the balloon counter. A few seconds went by and then angrily screamed at him saying you are a jerk and yelled that she was first in line and wasn't going to wait for him. I was completely mortified to the point where I hid myself in one of the aisles. He said something along the lines of I'm sorry mom, it will only take me a minute to finish ringing up her stuff. Not good enough. She stomps back to the checkout and squeezes between the customer and the counter and demands for him to give her money back because he wasted her time and was rude to her. She also threw her balloons on the counter. There were only a few customers milling around the store and then the other two that were in line, but I know they all heard her acting like an absolute buffoon. I was so embarrassed by her and felt so bad for the employee. By this point, I decided to go outside and wait on the sidewalk out of pure shame. Once we got back in the car, Skark said wasn't he so rude? I just responded no, not really. He was the only worker there and he was just trying to do his job. After seeing her act like that, I couldn't wait for my trip to be over. It's annoying to understand what it's like to work in retail and be treated by bad customers and then see your family members act the same way. Because of Skark's tendencies and multiple accounts of behaving this way, I no longer associate with her. If you're out there dollar store cashier, I'm sorry this happened to you. TL. Dr. Female relative screamed at a dollar store cashier and called him a jerk because he made her wait less than 5 minutes to fill up her balloons. Thank you. Next. Long time lurker and first time poster. Finally made an account to share this story. Obligatory on mobile etc. And it's long. I run an independent specialty boutique in a major U.S. city, intentionally being vague, and we can get absolutely slammed on the weekends. This story took place a little over a week ago. Cast, me equals me, B equals long time employee Terry equals crazy customer 1 Gina equals crazy customer 2. B and I are working the whole day / shift together and I have her working on a repair that a customer dropped off over the weekend. Of course the repair was not taken in properly, was undercharged, needed extra materials etc. So I was a little annoyed. B calls the customer and informs him that it would be an additional $5 for the extra materials. Technically it should have been $10 cause he was undercharged, but I'll let it slide. Thankfully, it was a pretty simple job and B was finished shortly. Due to the nature of our work, we often do not put the finishing touches on until the customers pick up their items. This saves us having to completely redo the work and the customer usually has to wait an extra 5-10 minutes while we finish up. Something we always inform them of before coming to pick up their repairs. Anyways, onward to the show. Super slow / quiet day. Man enters the shop. We're going to call him Terry. Terry, I'm here to pick up my repair. Me. Oh yes, we had to replace. Insert item name here, and it will be an additional $5. Terry, why couldn't you reuse original item? B, because original item had some glue stuck in it from original work and made it unable to reuse. Terry seems to accept this. B spends a few moments with him making sure the repair will fit. She sits down and continues the finishing touches. Terry, I also had a custom order made when I was here this past weekend and I need to pick it up. Me, oh sure. Finds order, hands at Terry. Terry, it was so busy in here on Sunday, and I don't understand all these charges. Terry slaps receipt on counter. Can you explain them to me? Me, of course. Plasters on customer service smile, while inwardly eye rolling so hard. I'm going to paraphrase here. Terry was overcharged something like $2 to $3 on his custom, but since he was undercharged on the repair he still owed us a couple bucks. During this interaction another woman enters the shop. We're going to call her Gina. Gina walks straight up to the counter while I'm dealing with Terry. I give what I thought was meaningful eye contact and a "we'll be right with you." Anyone with ears can tell that Terry is a handful. Gina wanders around. After a few minutes she must have noticed me in the corner working diligently away and finishing Terry's repair. "Gina, I just have a quick question." Cue Terry losing his shit. "Terry, does no one in this store have any patience? It was exactly like this last weekend." Gina, "Excuse me. There's two of them here." Terry, "Yeah, and they're both helping me." "You can wait." B stops what she's doing, gets up and starts helping Gina, but she still has Terry's repair in her hand. While B's calming Gina down, I have to run around from behind the counter, grab the repair from her, finish it up and hustle Terry the hell out of shop. The whole time they're still swiping barbs at one another. At this point, I can't even remember what was being said between the two, but Gina kept baiting Terry and provoking him. Like, "Gina, girl, give it rest, you got what you wanted. My staff dropped everything to help you. I finally have Terry sorted, and he even says to me you just want me out of your store." Cue customer service smile. I tell him don't worry about the few extra dollars and send him on his way. He starts walking towards the door, stops, turns around and in the most nastiest voice ever says, "Everyone have a great day, thanks so much for helping me," and then proceeds to exit the shop. This of course, completely sets Gina off again. B and I have to reassure her that Terry was obviously crazy etc. Soothe that ego. When Gina finally left, I don't even remember her purchasing anything. The whole spectacle lasted maybe 15 minutes. Q. B and I looking at each other, in a now empty shop, like WTF just happened. Edit. Typos. Thank you. Next. Edited to fix formatting. Over the holidays I worked part-time at a certain popular store whose logo is red and white. Now, I've been working in retail for longer than I care to admit and I've seen some truly heinous behavior, but this took the cake. It was a day or two after Christmas and I was at my register. I happened to glance up in time to see a woman walking down the aisle with her daughter who looked to be about 7 or 8. The little girl was carrying an American Girl doll she presumably had just gotten for Christmas. It jumped out to me because IDK whether she had some sort of clip-in extensions for the doll or what, but it had a few streaks of pink and blue in its hair. I remember thinking how my 8-year-old self would have loved the ability to add fun colors to my doll's hair. I gave the girl and her mom a quick smile and went back to ringing people out. Now for those of you who may not be familiar with American Girl, these are not cheap dolls. Last I checked they go for anywhere from $100 to $140 just for the doll itself. Any outfit you buy is going to cost another $30 to $50. As I'm finishing up with my current customer, I notice a middle-aged woman standing in a different line looking around. Her eyes landed on me and, seeing that I didn't have anybody after this customer, made a beeline for my register. Okay, whatever. Most people are in a hurry nowadays. She had with her own daughter, maybe about 3. The woman starts putting her items on my belt, while making friendly small talk with me. Suddenly I hear a woman scream at the top of her lungs, "Whoever took my daughter's doll better give it back right now." I look up and see the woman from earlier marching down the aisle in front of the registers. She's dragging her daughter along with her. The daughter is sobbing and there is no American Girl doll in sight. Just about the entire front of the store is staring at this mother and daughter. She turned to her daughter and demanded to know why she had set the doll down. The little girl started sobbing even harder and screamed, "I don't know, but I want it back. I want it. I want it." The lady I was helping shook her head and turned to her daughter. "I better not ever see you acting like that," she said. "I'll beat your ass." The mother, somehow even angrier and louder than before, screamed, "Who the fuck stole my daughter's doll?" At this point, my customer started rearranging some jackets she had in her cart and kind of chuckled to herself. "Bad day for anyone else to bring a doll in," she mumbled. I looked down and for just a second, caught a glimpse of an American Girl doll with pink and blue streaks in its hair. I froze and immediately started racking my brain, trying to figure out what I should do. I obviously couldn't let the woman get away with this, but I also couldn't accuse the woman of stealing. By this point the front-end manager had gotten involved in the situation. The mother, still screaming, was explaining to her that somebody had stolen her daughter's brand new American Girl doll, and my manager was trying to calm her down. I couldn't call her over, because the mother might follow and I didn't want to risk some sort of fight ensuing. I quickly finished my transaction, and as soon as I handed off the receipt, I quickly jogged over to my manager. By this time she and the mother and daughter were looking around where they'd last had the doll. I pulled my manager to the side and told her that the woman I just rang out had the doll. The mother overheard me and, as expected, took off running after the thief. My manager ran out after her and radioed for store security to follow. They screamed at each other in the parking lot for a bit. Finally, the cops were called and the American Girl doll was returned to its rightful owner. To this day, I cannot get over the fact that this woman stole from a little child. How low can you possibly be? Thank you. Next. I usually work self-check at the grocery store where I work. The other day I was up front at the kiosk, which turned red and beeped on the icon for the unit where an older guy was checking out with 2 salads from the deli and 2 boxes of hefty trash bags. He had scanned 1 box of bags and the machine had errored. It was the machine closest to me up front and it would have taken me, literally, 3 seconds to walk over to him and clear the error. 3 seconds. Before I could even take 1 step away, he yells "FK this GDDN store." Then throws one of the boxes of bags up against our dry ice machine, breaking it open, and storms out, like a damn 5-year-old throwing a tantrum for no reason. Just when you think you've seen everything. Thank you. Next. I work in a small grocery store and we stock fresh bread from a local bakery, which is sold unsliced. It's that fancy ass sourdough stuff that everyone loves and it's super popular to the point where we sell out almost every day and have people calling up to keep loaves aside for them. Anyway, one evening this lady comes up to the till and presents me with one of the big sourdoughs and starts to tell me this randomly detailed story about how she bought this bread for her son so he could make sandwiches to take on his flight to Milan. However, according to her this wasn't possible because the bread wouldn't slice and just crumbled apart when they tried to cut it. As her son was already away on his flight, sadly without his sourdough sandwiches, she now had returned for a full refund. I already knew she was going to be a pain, but just to prove a point, I took the bread from her and gave it to one of the deli guys and asked him to slice it. Lo and behold, it sliced perfectly with minimal effort as I expected. Brought it back to her to show her the sliced and explained there was clearly nothing wrong with it, which she somehow still didn't believe even though it was right in front of her face. Cue my co-worker chiming in saying maybe her knife wasn't sharp enough, but no, she couldn't even give that as her excuse. She just kept saying it was different that morning. I offered to slice it all up for her to take home, but apparently it was too late, because of course the bread was specifically for those flight sandwiches and couldn't be used to anything else. Honestly, it was more funny than anything, but I was kinda annoyed because my co-worker decided to give her a refund anyway because she was so argumentative. I really wish people would stop giving refunds just because people make a scene. Anyway, this was probably the dumbest return I've ever had to deal with and still make me chuckle to this day. Don't buy a loaf of bread if you don't know how to slice it. Thank you. Next. Background. I worked at a retail store that sold mainly very expensive clothes. I worked specifically in the loss prevention department, and because of the merchandise we sold, our company was very lenient in the policies regarding how we apprehended shoplifters. On this day, it was shortly after Christmas and all 3 of us were working that day. My 2 partners were on the floor doing some cabling on our more expensive merchandise while I was on the cameras. Our biggest hits came out of the men's department, especially since it was closest to the outside door. While I'm watching, I notice 3 guys come in with hoodies on and the hoods pulled up and they are walking fast. I also notice that they have 2 massive shopping bags. As I'm watching them, I notice on look around while the 2 with the bags go towards our denim table. I immediately start calling up my team on the radio. Right as I'm describing them, I see the 2 guys clearing the table of our denim. They are taking stacks of clothes. I'm already running out the back door and my partners are waiting in nearby departments watching them. They then start borderline running to the door. As soon as they hit the door, bam. I make my approach, but knowing they were gonna run, Because of how fast they were walking, I knew they were trying to get in and out to notes court. I was more aggressive and tried to make contact. Once they realized what was happening, all three split up and took off. My two partners burst through the door and we all pick one and start chasing. We told the nearby sales associate to secure the merchandise. We are all sprinting around the parking lot and the other stores trying to catch them. I finally notice mine starts to tire out halfway through the parking lot. I'm finally able to tackle them and start tussling. All of a sudden I feel two arms grab me by my shirt and throw me off. I land and realize that it's one of the suspects. Before I knew it, one of my partners tackles the guy that threw me off. At that point the one I tackled starts swinging and we start exchanging punches in the middle of the parking lot. We still have no idea where the third suspect and our other partner are. After an exchange of curse words and fisticuffs, and out of nowhere police start pulling up and taste one of the suspects. We were able to get everyone in handcuffs and started walking them back to the store. Once we get them back to the store and in our office, we notice that our third partner and the third suspect was sitting in the office already processing the paperwork. We asked him what the hell happened and he said after about 100 yards the guy just gave up and walked back. I just remember thinking, you lucky sob. Once we counted up all the merchandise, it was about $3,500. We called our boss to tell her what happened and she just told us good job, and she ended up taking us out to dinner that month. Needless to say, I stayed at that job almost another year before the rules started changing and our times of being cowboys were over. Still one of the best gigs I've ever had. Thank you. Next. I'm sure this sub gets a lot of these, but anyway. I work at a car wash and I greet customers and sell them washes. Lady comes in on a cold slow day. I'm hanging out down at the lobby and not up at the entrance near the automatic machines. She was up there a while, so I went up to help. She's visibly frustrated / upset as I arrive. Ask how it's going and if she needs help. She says yes, your stupid machine isn't working and won't give me my change. I go through the routine, figuring out which wash she selected, etc. Turns out she got the $7 wash, our cheapest one, so I assume she put in some cash and the change mechanism really isn't working. I ask how much money she put in so I can just give her change from my pouch. She says she hasn't put any money in and was trying to use a coupon. We support local schools and gave out a bunch of coupons at a local football game. $10 off our $20 wash. This lady seriously thought that she could take this coupon, select the $7 wash, and we would give her $3. She then argued with me for 5 minutes, to the point of having to call my manager, trying to explain to us how our free coupon was actually a $10 credit and she should get $3 if she doesn't want that wash. WTF. TL. Doctor, lady came in with freely handed out $10 off $20 coupon, thought she could buy our wash for $7 and get $3 back.